jungle.
Ya quedó. Cuando quieras, Monse.
Mexico suffers from the lack of regulation of the production of plastics. How López Obrador's cry of independence looked like in front of a Zócalo without people. The newspaper La Prensa fires more than half of its workers for the persecution of Daniel Ortega. Political crisis in Argentina. Cristina Fernández, the Kirchner's ministers, resign. This and more on GMO. Welcome once again to your limbo, where you get your visa to go anywhere outside Latin America. This week, the world went crazy as usual, but today we're only talking about the most important issues. You know, the ones that really can knock us out. Karen, I know you'll bring some exciting news.
Here are the overall news. France neutralizes Adnan Abu Walid al-Sahrawi, leader of a terrorist group called the Islamic State of the Greater Sahara, one of the most dangerous gangs that has grown exponentially in the Saharan area of the Sahel. Emmanuel Macron declared that this is a great advance that he has made in the war against terrorism, an operation that the French began in August 2014. The first commercial flight for Pakistan to Kabul, where 30 people were on board, the Taliban celebrate their reactivation of the airport 13 days after the withdrawal of the US military. The United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia closed a nuclear pact called AUKUS, where the technology will be shared in strategic areas in order to stop the military expansion in China. France take this as a stab in the back, as in the AUKUS, USA deal sells submarines to Australia, which break the deals in which France sells submarines to Australia, causing a loss of 56,000 million euros in the industry. China, on the other hand, makes strong criticisms of its pact, arguing that it undermines regional peace and stability. Global picture. On September 16, 2021, China formally requested to join the TPP Trans-Pacific Partnership through a letter that was presented to the Minister of Trade and Export wrote to New Zealand, Damien O'Connell. All participants can obtain great benefits from China joining the treaty because it is a characteristic country for being one of the main trading powers. In addition to the inverse way, China will continue to visualize strategies to continue growing economically. The British government delays the new customs controls that will be imposed on imports from the European Union. They estimate that they will enter into force on January 1st, 2022. This is due to the fact that this country has suffered havoc with the supply chain, since there has been a storage of products within several stores, and another reason of this postponement is because several companies have had economic problems as a result of pandemic.
I think we are free to decide if these are good news, right? Alejandro, let's go with you.
So, the environmental organization Greenpeace exposed in a report the opacity around the relations between companies and the plastic emissions they report in the world. Regulations on the product of plastic in Mexico is in a limbo. Legislation that can force companies that manufacture and use this product is stalled in the Congress, while the carbon dioxide CO2 commission of these companies remain opaque. In other things, the president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, gave the cry independence before an empty Zócalo for the second consecutive year. The traditional grito ceremony, which commemorates the beginning of the Mexican independence movement, was held without audience due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In Latin America, Nicaragua's longest-running newspaper published only in its web edition after takeover of the newsroom and the imprisonment of its general manager. Drowned by the persecution of Daniel Ortega regime, the newspaper La Prensa, the largest and longest-running newspaper in Nicaragua, announced on Wednesday the dismissal of more than half of its workers, personnel linked to the newsroom, finance, circulation, marketing, warehouse, and printing press. And the blood has reached the river Argentina as 5 ministers and 2 senior officials who answered to the Vice President Christian Fernandez de Kirchner have presented their resignation to the President Alberto Fernandez on Wednesday. The move exposed tensions within the Peronist coalition following Sunday's election defeat. The Kirchnerist minister offered to leave puts President Fernandez under fire, and he is now obligated to reject the resignation and give into the pressure or Kirchnerism. Or you can let them go and put together a new cabinet without the main political force of your government. Back to you, Monse.
Thank you, Alejandro. But for some reason, I always feel kind of sad after your segments. So quickly, bring on some joy.
Of course. Let's start with UNSCA. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, inaugurated this Saturday the 6th Summit of Leaders of State and Government of the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, in which he called on the United States and Canada for the economic integration. There are blockades and ministers. He pointed out that this ideal would be possible if 3 basic issues were agreed upon: non-intervention and self-determination of peoples, cooperation for development and mutual aid to combat inequality and discrimination. Today, we will talk about culture zone. We go to Chile. Chilean culture is located with the confines of the Republic of Chile, although today some 800,000 Chileans are living abroad. Most of these them left country since mid-1970s as a result of the political and economic hardship for the military regime that ruled from 1973 to 1990. This fact that most Chileans are of mixed ancestry and that the country has high degree of cultural homogeneity have prevented the germination of open hostilities between the nation's different ethnic groups. Chileans mestizos are often not even aware of being of mixed descent, as most of them consider themselves to possess Spanish backgrounds.
All right, folks, I know you don't want to be in Latin America anymore, but until you get your ticket to get the hell out of here, let's hang around next week on the same place at the same time. Peace out.